Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to Harav Gottlieb's articles in the back of Giving, Matan Torah. We're in the 9th article in the back called The Spiritual Path, Short or Long, page 178. Just give me a moment to pull up the live stream. All right. The Spiritual Path, Short or Long. The Rebbe Shlita begins. A story is told in the Talmud, in Masechet Eruvin 53b, about Rebbe Yehoshua, who was traveling to a city, and on the way met a boy at a fork in the road. Rebbe Yehoshua asked him which way to take in order to get to the city. The boy answered, "The way is short but long, and that way is long but short." Rebbe Yehoshua took the short road, but as he approached the city, he found it encompassed by orchards and could not get past them in order to arrive at the city. He had to return to the fork and start out again along the long, short way. Bal HaSulam explains, short way means the way that is close to our nature of loving only ourselves, our egoism, our animal, nature, and desire. The city refers to the goal of cleaving to God, dvekut, the ultimate state of consciousness. In certain texts, the ultimate city that we are to arrive to, the highest state of consciousness, is the upper Yerushalayim, the Jerusalem of the heavens, so to speak, which is described as this pure white city. The state of consciousness of being totally unified with the Creator. Long way means the way that is contrary to our nature of loving only ourselves. Because it seems to our ego, it seems to our body that it's difficult and it's long. We want the shortcuts. So the inner message in the boy's direction was, if we follow the Torah and the mitzvot on the basis of self-love alone, we will feel it to be short and easy. However, in truth, this is the long, hard way, and we're not going to get anywhere. That is, we won't be getting any closer to arriving at the goal. On the other hand, if we take the long way, which is contrary to our self-serving nature, we will find that it is short. For this is the way to gradually get closer to the city, that is, to a state of cleaving to God. A matter is judged by its end. So, if the short, long way actually gets you to the destination, then of course it's the shortest path. Whereas the other, if you're not getting there, then it's not worth it. From Bal HaSulam, we learn that short way means the way that is close to our heart. That is, the way that follows our desire to receive for ourselves alone. The way that is easy. However, this is really the long way, because it doesn't lead us to love of God. It's easy for us to keep the Torah's mitzvot with the understanding that it's for our own benefit. And for this reason, it's thought to be the short way. But in the end, it's long. For this way does not bring about a healing of our self-centered nature. It will lead to suffering and will keep going around in circles until we at last understand what is essential and what is not. Once we have given up on the short, long way, then we can begin on the long, short way. A long, short way means going in the direction of loving the other. Of course, the ego opposes this, and this may be expressed by sluggishness, or other states of the body, and therefore it is called the long way. However, if we subdue the body, where body, guf, is a code word for the desire to receive, for oneself alone, the ego, the materialization of our desire to receive, as all the senses of the body are vessels of receiving, whether it be sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch, and the like. However, if we subdue the body, again, where body is a code word for the desire to receive, and nonetheless take this path, we can merit seeing that this is the short way to true joy, the way of kindness that leads to a state of cleaving to God. In a similar way, Bala Sulam interprets the verse regarding the direction that was taken when the people of Israel left Egypt. Quote, "And God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines because it is near." From Shemos, or Exodus 13:17. Bal HaSulam explains that God did not want to lead the people on a spiritual path that is based on receiving some reward, as people would naturally desire. Such a path would cause a turning back to Egypt, back to Mitzrayim, back to the Tsar, the constricted consciousness. That is, this spiritual path would lead to renewed enslavement to the desire to receive, renewed enslavement to the ego. When they were leaving the ego and the desire to receive, leaving Mitzrayim, leaving the constricted consciousness of only focusing on oneself, and heading towards Yisrael, which is Yashar Kel, straight to God, pure intention to serve and give goodness to the Creator and to others. So, when leaving and being on the way to Yisrael, to not take the easy path, to not take the path that is near. Because that's the path of the ego, the path that's easy, the path that we naturally want. But best for us to go against our nature and build our spiritual muscle by means of this resistance. And we can get strength to do this by means of Sfarim v'Sofrim, the holy books and the ones who write the holy books, and of course a spiritual community, spiritual group of friends that can build each other and support each other in this difficult and bitter work. The study of the Kabbalah is not supposed to provide intellectual entertainment. It's not the goal whatsoever. It should not be one's intention, ideally. If we just remain at the level of philosophical principles, we do not get anywhere. To study Kabbalah is a lofty pursuit, but it would be completely mistaken to think that because we study Kabbalah, we are worthy of honor and admiration. An expanded ego is, of course, the opposite of the goal. We should never take pride when comparing ourselves to any other person in the world. Our goal is to see the divine greatness in others, not to devalue them. That doesn't mean that someone can't take a holy sense of pride or a happiness that the Creator brought them close to Kabbalah. The Creator gave their heart and soul a desire to connect to the inner dimension of the Torah. That is surely something one can do. And in a state of elevation, I've heard from the Rebbe Shlita that it's okay to look around and to even look at the Torah community at large and the world at large and appreciate the Creator is giving me an experience, and I have such and such parameters to understand that this experience is given to me directly by Him, and it's a gift, and it's to bring me closer, and it's for me to request and build more emunah, and I wouldn't even be connected to those principles if it wasn't for the inner dimension of the Torah. And so one can say from a state of thankfulness and gratitude, thank you. And to feel that dissonance, to feel that difference between the average Yosef, so to speak, the average Joe, and one who is connected to the inner tradition. Because it can be leaps and bounds of a difference. But again, we should never take pride when comparing ourselves to any other person in the world. Because it's not out of our own accord. But we can surely thank the Creator for bringing us to the condition of being connected and exposed to the learning. The Rebbe Shlita continues and clarifies. Rather, the orientation in studying Kabbalah is to purify ourselves and subjugate the ego by putting into practice the ideas in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Kabbalah lamaisa, lamase, practical Kabbalah. Practical Kabbalah in today's generation is translated as actual magical Kabbalah, so to speak, as opposed to the spiritual mechanisms and tools to elevate one's consciousness and being, to inch closer towards a state of being truly altruistic, giving, and loving, as opposed to egoistic. According to the Bala Sulam, that's the true Kabbalah. That's the authentic Kabbalah. And it's practical in the sense of putting the tools of knowing the differences between giving and receiving, and hopefully getting help from the Creator to be able to fine-tune and check our own intention, even on the spot, and to be aware of where we are holding. Am I doing this act of kindness because I want to receive reward, or I'm just caring and loving and want to give goodness to the other? So on and so forth. That's putting the ideas into practice. Not to mention having the parameters of all the different levels and the names of Hashem, the names of the Creator, and the different states of consciousness and how it pertains practically to our lives. I'm not getting so deep into it. I don't know it so well myself. But there's many levels to put this into practice in our daily lives. At the very least, to be aware that we have an ego and we have a dissonance between where we are and where ideally we'd like to be in regards to our connection and adhesion with the Creator. The Rebbe Shlita continues, the way to fulfill the purpose of life and not to waste it is practical work in giving and loving others. And not just thinking about the philosophy of giving. It has to be put into practice. We have to move our bodies. The Ashlag Rebbes would say that our spirituality is someone else's materiality. There has to be some type of movement, whether it's time, energy, or resources, money, to give ourselves in a self-sacrificing form to the other. That's giving, or at least can be, depending on someone's intention. In contrast to, for example, lecturing somebody and trying to give them spiritual advice and a spiritual path, when really we just want to control that person. It takes great assistance from the Creator to be able to be aware of the intricacies and delicate lines within our spiritual work and the seemingly infinite onion that is our ego. When we do spiritual work in a practical manner, we become acquainted with ourselves and learn what the body wants to do and what it does not want to do. We can't gain perspective on what path to take, in which routes to take on the path towards our goal of adhesion with the Creator, if we're not exposed to the notion that there is a path and there is something to do in the first place. We witness the inevitable resistance that arises when we make the effort to do spiritual work. And the resistance keeps us focused on authentic questions of the heart, not just intellectual queries. If we're exposed to these ideas and have the tools of acknowledging where we are holding in our egoistic actions, our altruistic actions, reflecting on it at the end of the day and seeing, where was I? What did I really want? What did I really intend? Without doing the action, all the more so the reflection, then we don't know what the body truly wants. And then unfortunately we can live a full, seemingly amazing and beautiful life of Torah and mitzvot and be totally disconnected from the goal. We can do all the basics. We can keep Shabbos and eat kosher, keep family purity, pray 3 times a day, and learn, and so on and so forth. And still, to never be exposed to these ideas and never even become aware that there is such a thing as an egoism I'm trying to leave and achieve a similarity of form and adhesion with the Creator. Rather, I'm just living a life of trying to build up my mitzvah points, and hopefully when I get upstairs, I'll get a good accounting. I'm not saying that one who is not exposed to these ideas can't reach a level on the spiritual path or the ladder. They surely can. But in contrast to the goal of our tikkun, it's a big distance. Working through these difficulties is the long, short way that leads to an inner transformation in which we come to love giving in a way similar to the way that God loves giving. Having acquired such a divine nature, we will be in a state of union with God. Sometimes I contemplate how much of a difference something as simple as a minute, maybe even 30 seconds, even a couple seconds of meditation and just focusing and thinking about the Creator before learning or before doing any mitzvah for that matter. The Sifrei Kodesh, the holy books, many of which of Hasidic root, talk about our inner work and how to be inspired with emotion and a holy fire of inspiration to do what we need to do in order to serve the Creator. But even in a simple level, to sit for a minute before learning, I just imagine the individuals who learn 70, 80 years, full-time, part-time, but countless, endless years of amazing mitzvot that are being done, Baruch Hashem. But if they even took a minute prior and thought to themselves, I am learning in order to draw upon the light of the Torah. I want to draw the light of the Torah within me in order that I can illuminate within my consciousness the light and see the evil within, see the nooks and crannies within, bring them up from the shadows, heal them, melt them away, and request that the Creator assist me in improving myself. And there's more to be said about the light of the Torah and what it can do for a person in terms of providing them a sense of refreshment in their inner work, joy, fear, and love, ultimate awareness of the Creator, and the like. But even so simply just to say, I desire that as I sit and learn to draw the light of the Torah upon myself in order that it provides me an inner transformation so I become more aware of myself, more aware of my ego, and I can be pained by the difference between my ego and the altruism I'd like to achieve. How much of a difference such a small action would be? We should be zoche, we should merit to connecting to these simple mindful tools, so much of which the holy books speak about, and to slowly but surely inch our way towards adhesion, dvekut, with the Creator. The next essay is the last one of this 10 essay section, translations, called Group Work. Till next time. Thank you, Reb Tzvi. All the best.